Empire sur France 24. So it will either be AI, where there are massive investments going on in advancing artificial intelligence for controlling people, social compliance, weapons systems, defense systems, the weaponization of AI, or the United States. So we are in a non-kinetic warfare with China today, and they are investing billions of dollars. They are educating more people. They are spending more money. They are filing more patents. And I think there's a reason to be concerned. If things continue to go their current, the way they are going today, I think China might win this war.
Is this a call on the U.S. government to do a little bit more?
I think if the Western governments don't do more in this area, we will be very sorry.
Now, let's talk about your startup. I just said it was valued at $3 billion. It's called C3 AI, and it's helping companies take the digital turn. Maybe give us briefly an example of how you help your clients in that matter.
So we've spent the last decade and almost $750 million building a software platform that allows our customers like Enel, NG, Shell, the United States Air Force, apply AI to massive social and economic benefits. So this is about, cleaner energy, renewable energy, more efficient manufacturing, lower inventory costs, lower cost products, more satisfied customers. And so we do this in banking, telecommunications, smart cities, defense, intelligence, clean energy.
Now, you've decided to set up your headquarters here in Europe your European headquarters are here in France. You seem to appreciate France a lot. Is this still the case after all the strikes? And why do you think it's a good country to invest?
Well, I think that, Paris is very centrally located. It's a great transportation hub. France offers, a very deep and rich resource in there of human capital. They have, some of the best research and educational institutions on the planet, like École Polytechnique, and, great computer scientists, great data scientists, great human capital. So I think that Siebel Systems, Paris was our headquarters for EMEA. That worked out very well for us. And so Paris is our headquarters for C3.ai as we grow our footprint throughout Europe and the Middle East.
I started this interview by saying that you had literally stared death in the eye. I was referring, of course, to what happened back in 2009 in Tanzania when you were on a foot safari. You were attacked by an elephant, and you underwent 19 surgeries, I think, right after that, and you weren't able to walk for 4 years. I'm just wondering, on a personal level, the man that you are, how did it change your life to have to go through that?
Yeah, I was on a photo safari in Tanzania, and I was attacked and mauled by an elephant. And my left leg was gored. I broke a bunch of ribs. The elephant stepped on my right leg, and my foot came off. And so it was pretty challenging. And I spent the next 4 years, I had 19 reconstructive surgeries, and I walked 4 years later. Good news is today I'm fine. But I think it puts things into perspective about, you approach risk a little bit differently. And it also, that most of the things that you worry about before an elephant attack that you think they're important, they're really not important at all. And so it helps you prioritize what's important from what's not. So it changes the way you think.
And lastly, for those of our viewers who are maybe thinking about starting their startup or their company, what's your advice to them?
Become a domain expert. Okay, in the idea that. I think that, whether we're dealing with bioscience, whether we're dealing with information technology, whether we're dealing with material science, travel, transportation, there is no substitute for getting an education and being a domain expert in that field. Secondly, before I started a company, I would go to work for a company that is a leader in that field, okay, and, learn, how it's done, how customers are engaged, the language of the business, how contracting is done, how customers are supported, so that you can be, more successful out of the gate.
Tom Siebel, thank you very much indeed for that. It's the end of this interview, but do stay with us here on France 24.
Here at France 24, we're taking a broad outlook by talking about the women who are reshaping our world.
En France 24 en español no tenemos temas vedados. Y eso se puede ver en televisión y en todas las plataformas que tenemos en Internet.
في فرنسا 24 لا ننسى ونحجز لكم أسبوعياً تذكرة عودة للمدن والمناطق التي كانت في قلب الأحداث قبل أن تدخل في طي النسيان.
Claro que tiene algo especial. Somos todos de distintos países y trabajamos con todo el corazón para entregar información en el momento preciso.
أخبار سياسية واقتصادية وثقافية وأيضاً رياضية بأعين خبراء رياضيين. هذه هي قناة France 24.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.
Hirosaki City is an old castle town in Aomori. Here in the Tohoku region, winters are cold, with heavy snow. When spring arrives in late April, the Cherry Blossom Festival in Hirosaki Park always draws huge crowds. The park has about 50 varieties of sakura, over 2,600 trees blooming at once. So many blossoms, the water is hidden under the fallen petals. When night falls and the illuminations come on, the park is transformed again. I love the way the flowers are so densely packed you can't even see the sky. It's the most beautiful sight in Tohoku. For the Japanese, cherry blossom viewing celebrates the arrival of spring. The tree doctors who keep Hirosaki Park's cherry trees healthy call themselves Team Sakura Mori. As a child, Hashiba Makiko loved to play under Hirosaki's cherry blossoms. Today, her job is to look after these trees all year round. We do our utmost to keep these trees healthy and ensure they live as long as possible. I feel it's important to take care of each tree, however old they get. Most of the park's cherry blossoms are the variety called Somei Yoshino. These are normally thought to live only 60 years, but Hirosaki has 100-year-old trees that still blossom profusely. Hashiba tells us the secret to long-lived cherry trees is regular pruning. They trim any branches that appear sick or are preventing other branches from growing. Hashiba pruned this branch today after finding mushrooms on it. As mushrooms grow, they rot the branch inside. This weakens the wood and the branch is more likely to fall. It was always believed that you should never prune cherry trees. But 60 years ago, the tree doctors at the time found a way to make it work. They were inspired by pruning techniques used on Hirosaki's most famous farm product, the apple. The region's apple farmers experimented and refined their pruning methods to reduce insect damage and make harvesting easier. Team Sakuramori's predecessors at the time decided to apply those methods to improve their management of the park's cherry trees. Apples belong to the same botanical family as cherry trees, so it seemed likely a similar approach would work. They found that pruning the park's cherry trees reduced disease, prevented falling trees, and lengthened lifespans. Hashiba and her colleagues inherited this know-how and use it to keep their trees healthy. It's all thanks to our local apple farmers that we could develop better ways to care for our cherry blossoms. My main motivation has always been seeing how the people of Hirosaki really treasure our parks. Their work continues throughout the icy winter. The park must be ready for spring. And when sakura season arrives, after a winter of loving care, the flowers are as spectacular as always. Know-how and technique based on regional wisdom, working behind the scenes to protect this magnificent site. Almost all Japanese elementary schools provide lunch for their pupils. These are carefully designed for nutritional balance. As the children eat their meal, the teacher gives a simple explanation of its nutritional content. We eat these little fish whole, including the bones, because they have lots of calcium. Why is calcium good for us? It helps our bones grow strong. That's right. I learned a lot about nutrition today. I think this is going to be very useful to me after I grow up. The children learn about their food and how to choose a balanced diet. Shokuiku, or food education, is being heavily promoted these days. Professional washoku chefs are sometimes invited to give shokuiku classes. Washoku, or traditional Japanese cuisine, is good for health and has been recognized as a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage. Today, the children are learning about dashi, the stock that's the basis of miso soup. Kombu seaweed gives the soup umami. Umami is produced by simmering certain kinds of seaweed, seafood, or vegetables. Miso soup is so familiar to the children, they're surprised by all the techniques and ingredients needed to make it. I learned how to use different combinations of things to make dashi and the ways it makes food tastier. Shokuiku classes also teach children about traditional Japanese approaches to cooking and food. Washoku is more than just a cuisine, it contains so much of our Japanese culture. These classes are a great way to teach the traditional understanding of life as well as food. This nursery school is for children up to 6 years old. Shokuiku lessons cover everything from how food is produced to how it's consumed. Food education gives children the knowledge and skills they'll need to function properly in society as adults. Topics range from growing and cooking food to how to properly serve and eat it. Rice is the staple food of the Japanese. These nursery school children plant their own rice and care for it until it's ready to harvest 6 months later. With their newly harvested rice, they learn to make rice balls, discovering for themselves the difficulties and the joys of growing food. The children make the side dishes too. I love cooking! They learn cooking techniques like cutting, stir frying, and deep frying. And they're taught how to serve themselves. Eating habits acquired at an early age stay with us all our lives. Hearing my son say how confident he was in today's class really makes me feel how quickly he's growing up. Food education in Japanese schools is helping improve the nation's diet. Teaching children basic knowledge about food and instilling desirable eating habits, Shokuiku classes lay a good foundation for health in adult life. It's a craze that just keeps on getting bigger among Japanese youth, the 2.5D musical. 2D or two-dimensional refers to manga, anime and video games. Combining 2D themes and technology with live-action stage performances has brought us a new form of entertainment, 2.5D. Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon is known and loved all over the world. When the actors transform on stage into their guardian forms, it's as if they jump straight from the pages of the original manga. In The Prince of Tennis, when the teen idols play the game on stage, it's made super realistic by 2.5D effects. Touken Ranbu Online is a very popular computer game. The musical captivates audiences with its recreation of historical events, using songs and dances as well as scenes of combat. Of all 2.0, none has been so popular as the series based on the manga Naruto. With over 2.5 billion copies sold worldwide. These stories of ninja warriors focus on the bonds of friendship they develop during their adventures. Special effects in live and action sequences featuring the fabled ninja arts. This musical is directed by Kodama Akiko. I think the big attraction of 2.5D musicals is their visual impact. Even little children love the action. And you don't have to understand Japanese to enjoy the fun. Video effects bring the fantastical world of Naruto to life. The hero casts a spell producing hundreds of clones behind him on stage. As well as all the training and rehearsal required for these intense non-stop scenes, the actors must learn to move exactly in sync with the projected video. We use these video effects to support and complement what the actors are doing on stage. We're trying to make the audience's experience as close as possible to what they imagined when reading the manga. These musicals bring all the excitement of the original works to the stage. The director's creativity and the skill of the actors work together perfectly to draw audiences deep into the world of Naruto. They brought the manga to life just as I imagined it.
With the addition of all the special effects and all the interaction with the other actors, it was really great.
Overseas performances of 2.5D musicals are generating great enthusiasm. A new form of entertainment from Japan, the 2.5D musical, looks set to follow manga, anime and video games and win fans worldwide. Japan's traditional costume, the kimono. In the past, this was an everyday garment. Today, it's mostly worn for special events and ceremonial occasions. The roots of the kimono date back to the 8th century. It went through many changes before evolving into the kimono we see today. Made in an almost limitless range of patterns and colors, kimonos express the range of Japanese aesthetic sensibility. The Tango region faces the Sea of Japan in the north part of Kyoto Prefecture. This is where almost 70% of Japanese silk kimono fabric is made. The fabric is called Tango Chirimen. At the region's annual kimono festival, the streets are filled with people proudly showing off their favorite kimonos. This is what makes Tango Chirimen fabric special, its wrinkled surface. These fine, irregular wrinkles reflect light randomly, adding a unique depth and richness to the colors of the cloth. Tango Chirimen has a 300-year history. Production involves a great many processes and is highly skilled work. Creating wrinkles in the cloth is one of the most complex of all these processes. First, the yarn is strongly twisted at high speed. The twisted yarn is then woven into fabric. This is followed by immersion in hot water to clean it. In the hot water, the twisted yarn loosens and tries to return to its original shape. It's this that produces the distinctive wrinkles. It gives the cloth a very beautiful luster. That's why our fabric was always highly valued and used for top quality kimonos. Recently, kimono designers have been taking their motifs from the world outside Japan. This kimono was inspired by one of Argentina's most famous glaciers. Silver and blue yarns are interwoven to suggest streams of melting ice on the glacier surface. This project was a great opportunity for me to get to know other cultures and at the same time to communicate Japanese culture to the world. One of Kyoto's oldest kimono stores is also one of the most adventurous. This was a joint project between a Japanese and a Congolese designer. Historically, people felt free to make kimonos anywhere they liked. So I decided I had the freedom to mix African materials and designs with traditional kimono elements. But I think we stayed true to the essence of the kimono. This is their latest joint creation. In Africa, two hearts touching traditionally signifies a union or bond between people. The collars and sleeves bear an arabesque pattern of vines that symbolizes vitality in Japan.
You can have a collaboration, you can have like a complementarity between the two cultures.
After all these centuries, the kimono is as charming as ever. And today, overseas influences are taking this traditional symbol of Japan in new and exciting directions.
Colorado happens to be one of the worst states for radon levels.
If you can take measures as simple as testing your home, but people don't know.
My exposure for the 10 years that I worked in a home office, that's what resulted in my cancer.
And that's about a liter of air, which is perfect because radon is defined by liters.
It's a derivative of uranium. Radon is an odorless, naturally occurring gas, which occurs in the crust of the earth.
It's in our ground, and it seeps up.
Just by breathing radon at the average house in Colorado, you are getting radiation damage equivalent to 200 chest x-rays a year. The more you breathe radon, or the higher the radon value, the more chance you have of one of those DNA being hit and the cell mutated.
A neighbor was selling her house, and she ran over to my house and said, "Have you ever heard of radon? They're asking me to test for it, and our levels were really high, and they said that it's the leading cause of lung cancer," and she knew that my husband had just passed away. He was only 58 years old when he passed away, and we had a 13-year-old son. It's a tragedy to know that had we tested for radon, that outcome could have been different.
In my opinion, there should be legislation that everybody's house is tested, and if radon levels are above what's considered normal, they have a mitigation done. And mitigation is not expensive.
It all starts with testing your home. So if you want to know what my priority is, get people to test for radon.
Tower Sky 5493 visual 16 right. 5493 give a tower wind 19008 runway 16 right. 16 right. Sky 5493. Southwest 04 high speed taxi to Fox ground 7.5. High speed Fox clear ground southwest 1004.
The Yampa Valley Regional Airport. Located in Hayden, Colorado, this airport serves as the gateway to Colorado's Northern Rockies. The airport first opened in the fall of 1966, and it began serving the community with daily scheduled service from Denver by Frontier Airlines. Today, the Yampa Valley Regional Airport is a vibrant economic generator and one of the key ingredients to the overall success of the booming local tourism industry.
Steamboat Springs is a western agricultural town that just happens to have a world-class ski mountain. The ski conditions, that powder, brings a lot of people here.
Over 75,000 people each year travel through the Yampa Valley Regional Airport in pursuit of Mount Werner's world-renowned champagne powder. This accounts for nearly 70% of the total annual destination visitors of the Steamboat Ski area. When it comes to the economy and employment, the Yampa Valley Regional Airport can boast some impressive numbers. The airport is linked to over 3,000 jobs, nearly $105 million in payroll, and it generates nearly $300 million in overall economic output for the surrounding community.
The economic benefit is undeniable.
To keep an economic engine like this running strong, it takes solid partnerships, a passionate and knowledgeable staff, as well as a safe and efficient airport infrastructure.
Our partnership with the Ski Corporation is very tight. They know that the lifeblood of their business is reliant on this airport. Even the people that work here, how proud they are of the product they put out and the care they take with the passengers that come through here, it shows. I couldn't ask for a more talented and dedicated staff than I have, and great partners in the FBO next door. It's important that we take pride in the airport and we take good care of the customers, as we are the first impression for a lot of people. So the first thing they see is when they get off the airplane here and they come through our terminal. It's especially important in Yampa Valley that we keep the right attitude and we take good care of our passengers, because we want them to come back, and because they're a critical component of this community.
It's not by accident the hills and the mountains are protected. And it's not by accident the city today is one of the most desirable cities.
Our forefathers and foremothers had the foresight to see the value of protecting our natural lands and having that open space buffer.
Chautauqua itself was really founded in 1898, so Chautauqua has been a part of Boulder for a very long time. In fact, the buying of the Batchelder Ranch, which is where Chautauqua is today,
Paris sur France 24.
So it will either be AI, where there are massive investments going on in advancing artificial intelligence for controlling people, social compliance, weapons systems, defense systems, the weaponization of AI, or the United States. So we are in a non-kinetic warfare with China today, and they are investing billions of dollars. They are educating more people. They are spending more money. They are filing more patents. And I think there's a reason to be concerned. If things continue to go their current, the way they are going today, I think China might win this war.
Is this a call on the U.S. government to do a little bit more?
I think if the Western governments don't do more in this area, we will be very sorry.
Now let's talk about your startup. I just said it was valued at $3 billion. It's called C3 AI, and it's helping companies take the digital turn. Maybe give us briefly an example of how you help your clients in that matter.
So we've spent the last decade and almost $750 million building a software platform that allows our customers like Enel, Engie, Shell, the United States Air Force, apply AI to massive social and economic benefits. So this is about, cleaner energy, renewable energy, more efficient manufacturing, lower inventory costs, lower cost products, more satisfied customers. And so we do this in banking, telecommunications, smart cities, defense, intelligence, clean energy.
Now, you've decided to set up your headquarters here in Europe your European headquarters are here in France. You seem to appreciate France a lot. Is this still the case after all the strikes? And why do you think it's a good country to invest?
Well, I think that, Paris is very centrally located. It's a great transportation hub. France offers, a very deep and rich resource in there of human capital. They have, some of the best research and educational institutions on the planet, like École Polytechnique, and, great computer scientists, great data scientists, great human capital. So I think that Siebel Systems, Paris was our headquarters for EMEA. That worked out very well for us. And so Paris is our headquarters for C3.ai as we grow our footprint throughout Europe and the Middle East.
I started this interview by saying that you had literally stared death in the eye. I was referring, of course, to what happened back in 2009 in Tanzania when you were on a foot safari. You were attacked by an elephant, and you underwent 19 surgeries, I think, right after that, and you weren't able to walk for 4 years. I'm just wondering, on a personal level, the man that you are, how did it change your life to have to go through that?
Yeah, I was on a photo safari in Tanzania, and I was attacked and mauled by an elephant. And my left leg was gored. I broke a bunch of ribs. The elephant stepped on my right leg, and my foot came off. And so it was pretty challenging. And I spent the next 4 years, I had 19 reconstructive surgeries, and I walked 4 years later. Good news is today I'm fine. But I think it puts things into perspective about, you approach risk a little bit differently. And it also, that most of the things that you worry about before an elephant attack that you think they're important, they're really not important at all. And so it helps you prioritize what's important from what's not. So it changes the way you think.
And lastly, for those of our viewers who are maybe thinking about starting their startup or their company, what's your advice to them?
Become a domain expert. Okay, in the idea that. I think that, whether we're dealing with bioscience, whether we're dealing with information technology, whether we're dealing with material science, travel, transportation, there is no substitute for getting an education and being a domain expert in that field. Secondly, before I started a company, I would go to work for a company that is a leader in that field, okay, and, learn, how it's done, how customers are engaged, the language of the business, how contracting is done, how customers are supported, so that you can be, more successful out of the gate.
Tom Siebel, thank you very much indeed for that. It's the end of this interview, but do stay with us here on France 24.
France 24, we're taking a broad outlook by talking about the women who are reshaping our world.
En France 24 en español no tenemos temas vedados y eso se puede ver en televisión y en todas las plataformas que tenemos en internet.
في فرانس 24 لا ننسى ونحجز لكم أسبوعيا تذكرة عودة للمدن والمناطق التي كانت في قلب الأحداث قبل أن تدخل في طي النسيان.
Claro que tiene algo especial. Somos todos de distintos países y trabajamos con todo el corazón para entregar información en el momento preciso.
أخبار سياسية واقتصادية وثقافية وأيضا رياضية بأعين خبراء رياضيين. هذه هي قناة France 24.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.
Hirosaki City is an old castle town in Aomori. Here in the Tohoku region, winters are cold, with heavy snow. When spring arrives in late April, the Cherry Blossom Festival in Hirosaki Park always draws huge crowds. The park has about 50 varieties of sakura, over 2,600 trees blooming at once. So many blossoms, the water is hidden under the fallen petals. When night falls and the illuminations come on, the park is transformed again. I love the way the flowers are so densely packed you can't even see the sky. It's the most beautiful sight in Tohoku. For the Japanese, cherry blossom viewing celebrates the arrival of spring. The tree doctors who keep Hirosaki Park's cherry trees healthy call themselves Team Sakura Mori. As a child, Hashiba Makiko loved to play under Hirosaki's cherry blossoms. Today, her job is to look after these trees all year round. We do our utmost to keep these trees healthy and ensure they live as long as possible. I feel it's important to take care of each tree, however old they get. Most of the park's cherry blossoms are the variety called Somei Yoshino. These are normally thought to live only 60 years, but Hirosaki has 100-year-old trees that still blossom profusely. Hashiba tells us the secret to long-lived cherry trees is regular pruning. They trim any branches that appear sick or are preventing other branches from growing. Hashiba pruned this branch today after finding mushrooms on it. As mushrooms grow, they rot the branch inside. This weakens the wood and the branch is more likely to fall. It was always believed that you should never prune cherry trees. But 60 years ago, the tree doctors at the time found a way to make it work. Experimented and refined their pruning methods to reduce insect damage and make harvesting easier. Team Sakuramori's predecessors at the time decided to apply those methods to improve their management of the park's cherry trees. Apples belong to the same botanical family as cherry trees, so it seemed likely a similar approach would work. They found that pruning the park's cherry trees reduced disease, prevented falling trees, and lengthened lifespans. Hashiba and her colleagues inherited this know-how and use it to keep their trees healthy. It's all thanks to our local apple farmers that we could develop better ways to care for our cherry blossoms. My main motivation has always been seeing how the people of Hirosaki really treasure our parks. Their work continues throughout the icy winter. The park must be ready for spring. And when sakura season arrives, after a winter of loving care, the flowers are as spectacular as always. Know-how and technique based on regional wisdom, working behind the scenes to protect this magnificent site. Almost all Japanese elementary schools provide lunch for their pupils. These are carefully designed for nutritional balance. As the children eat their meal, the teacher gives a simple explanation of its nutritional content. We eat these little fish whole, including the bones, because they have lots of calcium. Why is calcium good for us? It helps our bones grow strong. That's right. I learned a lot about nutrition today. I think this is going to be very useful to me after I grow up. The children learn about their food and how to choose a balanced diet. Shokuiku, or food education, is being heavily promoted these days. Professional washoku chefs are sometimes invited to give shokuiku classes. Washoku, or traditional Japanese cuisine, is good for health. It has been recognized as a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage. Today, the children are learning about dashi, the stock that's the basis of miso soup. Kombu seaweed gives the soup umami. Umami is produced by simmering certain kinds of seaweed, seafood, or vegetables. Miso soup is so familiar to the children, they are surprised by all the techniques and ingredients needed to make it. I learned how to use different combinations of things to make dashi and the ways it makes food tastier. Shokuiku classes also teach children about traditional Japanese approaches to cooking and food. Washoku is more than just a cuisine, it contains so much of our Japanese culture. These classes are a great way to teach the traditional understanding of life as well as food. This nursery school is for children up to 6 years old. Shokuiku lessons cover everything from how food is produced to how it's consumed. Food education gives children the knowledge and skills they'll need to function properly in society as adults. Topics range from growing and cooking food to how to properly serve and eat it. Rice is the staple food of the Japanese. These nursery school children plant their own rice and care for it until it's ready to harvest 6 months later. With their newly harvested rice, they learn to make rice balls, discovering for themselves the difficulties and the joys of growing food. The children make the side dishes too. I love cooking. They learn cooking techniques like cutting, stir frying, and deep frying. And they're taught how to serve themselves. Eating habits acquired at an early age stay with us all our lives. Hearing my son say how confident he was in today's class really makes me feel how quickly he's growing up. Food education in Japanese schools is helping improve the nation's diet. Teaching children basic knowledge about food and instilling desirable eating habits, shokuiku classes lay a good foundation for health in adult life. It's a craze that just keeps on getting bigger among Japanese youth. The 2.5D musical. 2D or two-dimensional refers to manga, anime and video games. Combining 2D themes and technology with live-action stage performances has brought us a new form of entertainment, 2.5D. Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon is known and loved all over the world. When the actors transform on stage into their guardian forms, it's as if they jumped straight from the pages of the original manga. In The Prince of Tennis, when the teen idols play the game on stage, it's made super realistic by 2.5D effects. Touken Ranbu Online is a very popular computer game. The musical captivates audiences with its recreation of historical events, using songs and dances as well as scenes of combat. Of all 2.5D musicals, none has been so popular as the series based on the manga Naruto. With over 2.5 billion copies sold worldwide. These stories of ninja warriors focus on the bonds of friendship they develop during their adventures. Special effects enliven action sequences featuring the fabled ninja arts. This musical is directed by Kodama Akiko. I think the big attraction of 2.5D musicals is their visual impact. Even little children love the action, and you don't have to understand Japanese to enjoy the fun. Video effects bring the fantastical world of Naruto to life. The hero casts a spell producing hundreds of clones behind him on stage. As well as all the training and rehearsal required for these intense non-stop scenes, the actors must learn to move exactly in sync with the projected video. We use these video effects to support and complement what the actors are doing on stage. We're trying to make the audience's experience as close as possible to what they imagined when reading the manga. These musicals bring all the excitement of the original works to the stage. The director's creativity and the skill of the actors work together perfectly to draw audiences deep into the world of Naruto. They brought the manga to life just as I imagined it.
With the addition of all the special effects and all the interaction with the other actors, it was really great.
Overseas performances of 2.5D musicals are generating great enthusiasm. A new form of entertainment from Japan, the 2.5D music, looks set to follow manga, anime and video games, and win fans worldwide. Japan's traditional costume, the kimono. In the past, this was an everyday garment. Today, it's mostly worn for special events and ceremonial occasions. The roots of the kimono date back to the 8th century. It went through many changes before evolving into the kimono we see today. Made in an almost limitless range of patterns and colors, kimonos express the range of Japanese aesthetic sensibility. The Tango region faces the Sea of Japan in the north part of Kyoto Prefecture. This is where almost 70% of Japanese silk kimono fabric is made. The fabric is called Tango Chirimen. At the region's annual kimono festival, the streets are filled with people proudly showing off their favorite kimonos. This is what makes Tango Chirimen fabric special, its wrinkled surface. These fine, irregular wrinkles reflect light randomly, adding a unique depth and richness to the colors of the cloth. Tango Chirimen has a 300-year history. Production involves a great many processes and is highly skilled work. Creating wrinkles in the cloth is one of the most complex of all these processes. First, the yarn is strongly twisted at high speed. The twisted yarn is then woven into fabric. This is followed by immersion in hot water to clean it. In the hot water, the twisted yarn loosens and tries to return to its original shape. It's this that produces the distinctive wrinkles. It gives the cloth a very beautiful luster. That's why our fabric was always highly valued and used for top quality kimonos. Recently, kimono designers have been taking their motifs from the world outside Japan. This kimono was inspired by one of Argentina's most famous glaciers. Silver and blue yarns are interwoven to suggest streams of melting ice on the glacier surface. This project was a great opportunity for me to get to know other cultures and at the same time to communicate Japanese culture to the world. One of Kyoto's oldest kimono stores is also one of the most adventurous. This was a joint project between a Japanese and a Congolese designer. Historically, people felt free to make kimonos anywhere they liked. So I decided I had the freedom to mix African materials and designs with traditional kimono elements. But I think we stayed true to the essence of the kimono. This is their latest joint creation. In Africa, two hearts touching traditionally signifies a union or bond between people. The collars and sleeves bear an arabesque pattern of vines that symbolizes vitality in Japan.
You can have a collaboration, you can have like a complementarity between the two cultures.
After all these centuries, the kimono is as charming as ever. And today, overseas influences are taking this traditional symbol of Japan in new and exciting directions.
Colorado happens to be one of the worst states for radon levels.
If you can take measures as simple as testing your home, but people don't know.
My exposure for the 10 years that I worked in a home office, that's what resulted in my cancer.
And that's about a liter of air, which is perfect because radon is defined by liters.
It's a derivative of uranium. Radon is an odorless, naturally occurring gas, which occurs in the crust of the earth.
It's in our ground, and it seeps up.
Just by breathing radon at the average house in Colorado, you are getting radiation damage equivalent to 200 chest x-rays a year. The more you breathe radon, or the higher the radon value, the more chance you have of one of those DNA being hit and the cell mutated.
A neighbor was selling her house, and she ran over to my house and said, "Have you ever heard of radon? They're asking me to test for it, and our levels were really high, and they said that it's the leading cause of lung cancer," and she knew that my husband had just passed away. He was only 58 years old when he passed away, and we had a 13-year-old son. It's a tragedy to know that had we tested for radon, that outcome could have been different.
In my opinion, there should be legislation that everybody's house is tested, and if radon levels are above what's considered normal, they have a mitigation done. And mitigation is not expensive.
It all starts with testing your home. So if you want to know what my priority is, get people to test for radon.
Tower Sky 5493 visual 16 right. 5493 Diva Tower, wind 19008, runway 16 right. 16 right, Sky 5493. Southwest 04, southwest IFE, taxi to Fox Shop, take ground with 7.5. High speed Fox, set ground, southwest 1004.
The Yampa Valley Regional Airport. Located in Hayden, Colorado, this airport serves as the gateway to Colorado's Northern Rockies. The airport first opened in the fall of 1966, and it began serving the community with daily scheduled service from Denver by Frontier Airlines. Today, the Yampa Valley Regional Airport is a vibrant economic generator and one of the key ingredients to the overall success of the booming local tourism industry.
Steamboat Springs is a western agricultural town that just happens to have a world-class ski mountain. The ski conditions, that powder, brings a lot of people here.
Over 75,000 people each year travel through the Yampa Valley Regional Airport in pursuit of Mount Werner's world-renowned champagne powder. This accounts for nearly 70% of the total annual destination visitors of the Steamboat ski area. When it comes to the economy and employment, the Yampa Valley Regional Airport can boast some impressive numbers. The airport is linked to over 3,000 jobs, nearly $105 million in payroll, and it generates nearly $300 million in overall economic output for the surrounding community.
The economic benefit is undeniable.
To keep an economic engine like this running strong, it takes solid partnerships, a passionate and knowledgeable staff, as well as a safe and efficient airport infrastructure.
Our partnership with the Ski Corporation is very tight. They know that the lifeblood of their business is reliant on this airport. Even the people that work here, how proud they are of the product they put out and the care they take with the passengers that come through here, it shows. I couldn't ask for a more talented and dedicated staff than I have, and great partners in the FBO next door. It's important that we take pride in the airport and we take good care of the customers is we are the first impression for a lot of people. So the first thing they see is when they get off the airplane here and they come through our terminal. It's especially important in Yampa Valley that we keep the right attitude and we take good care of our passengers because we want them to come back and because they're a critical component of this community.
It's not by accident the hills and the mountains are protected. And it's not by accident the city today is one of the most desirable cities.
Our forefathers and foremothers had the foresight to see the value of protecting our natural lands and having that open space buffer.
Chautauqua itself was really founded in 1898, so Chautauqua has been a part of Boulder for a very long time. In fact, the buying of the Batchelder Ranch, which is where Chautauqua is today,
So Chris, is Channel 8 working now?
Yeah, it's my understanding both the live stream and Channel 8 is working.
Okay, great. There's Mary.
Howdy.
Howdy. Okay, so we call this meeting to order. This is the August 11th, 2020 meeting of the Boulder City Council. We're going to start with just a quick announcement. The 2020 census is currently going on, and Boulder County has a 73% response rate, which is great, but we'd still like everyone to be able to be counted and respond to the census. These counts are very important for federal funding amounts and so on. Completing the census is safe, easy, and important. It only takes a few minutes to complete. Responses are secure and confidential. They're not tracked by identity. And we do get money based on how many people live in our community and our state. And you fill it out by the September 30th deadline at my2020census.gov, or there's a phone number 844-330-2020. So take the census. And then I guess we're on to call to order.
Councilmember Bracken.
Present.
Friend.
Here.
Joseph. Here. Nagel.
Here.
Sweatlick.
Here.
Wallach.
Present.
Weaver.
Here.
Yates.
Here.
Young. Present. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Very good. So the first order of business then is to amend the agenda to switch the order of items 4A and 4B so that we will speak about our mayor, our choice matter first, and then prairie dogs and OSBT second. So could I get a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Great. Any objections? Seeing none, we've done that. Okay. Next is consent agenda. The only item on the consent agenda tonight is consideration of a motion to call a special meeting of City Council on August 20th, 2020. So it's just show of hands, you said, Debbie, for this. So does anyone object to passing the consent agenda?
Well, why don't I just make a quick motion to pass the consent agenda?
Thanks.
Second.
Second. Any objections? Seeing none, it passes. And then I believe we're down into public hearings already.
Yes, we are. Your first public hearing this evening is direct election of mayor / ranked choice voting.
Tom, I think that's you.
Yep. Can we put the presentation up, please? Just take a second. You guys are just moving way too fast for me.
Oh, that's going to change.
Yeah. So, as you know, a charter amendment petition has been circulated by the group Our Mayor, Our Choice. The proposed amendment would take the authority to name the mayor away from council and give it to the voters through their election conducting through ranked choice or instant runoff voting system in presidential election years. They've submitted 5,800 signatures to the clerk's office, which are currently under review. This would fall short of the 8,096 signatures that would be required under state law for a charter amendment this year. The proposed ordinance, so council members asked staff to work with the petitioners to draft a proposed ordinance that address some of the concerns raised by the community for council to consider putting on the ballot. So that's what's before you tonight. So I want to describe the proposed alternative very quickly. Under the proposal, rather than in presidential election years, which are of course even numbered years, the proposed alternative would have the mayor elected in odd numbered years. This addresses a concern about gaps that would be created because council members would still be elected in odd numbered years. The proposed alternative would give the mayor no new powers. In years when the mayoral position is not up for election, the current system in which the top 4 vote getters get 4-year terms and the 5th place finisher gets a 2-year term would remain unchanged. When the mayoral position is up, The top 3 vote getters in the council election would get 4-year terms, and the 4th place finisher would get a 2-year term. If a council member who is in the middle of a 4-year term wins election as mayor, then the 5th place finisher in the council would also get a 2-year term. So the proposal is that this be done by ranked choice or instant runoff voting. State law actually says this shall be called instant runoff voting. So we probably should use this. State law authorizes communities to use instant runoff voting. And very simply, voters rank the candidates in the order of their preference. If no candidate receives 50% of the first choice votes, the candidate with the fewest first choice votes is eliminated, and the ballots cast with that candidate as the first choice are redistributed among the remaining candidates based on those voters' second choices. The process continues until a candidate gets 50% of the vote and is declared the winner. The Colorado Secretary of State, pursuant to state law, has issued a rule governing how municipalities may conduct ranked choice elections or instant runoff voting, and the city could use that as the guidance to do this. There are other provisions in the proposed alternative. Term limits for the mayor. No person could run for mayor if he or she had previously served 8 years as mayor or 3 terms on council and 4 years as mayor. Vacancies in the office of the mayor would be filled in the same way as council vacancies, except in the event of a mayoral vacancy, the mayor pro tem would serve as mayor until a successor is elected. The mayor would receive the same compensation as the rest of council members. I wanted to point out that we posted on Hotline late this afternoon at Bob Yates' request another version of the alternative, giving the mayor a 2-year term, which makes the every odd year election the same. So we wouldn't have the 2 different kinds of elections. We've also added to that the phrase instant runoff voting as a parenthetical in the ballot title to make it clear that that's what it is. I would recommend that we just use the term instant runoff voting because that's the term that's used by state law, rather than ranked choice voting. But we've done it so that it's clear that ranked choice voting is the same as instant runoff voting, but and state law makes it pretty clear what it's called. Any questions?
Questions for Tom? Let me look at my hands. Hang on. I don't see any questions.
Okay.
Okay. No. We're ready to move on then to public participation. I'm pulling the list up. I had this all organized. Now it's broke. Okay. So, Ryan, would you like to give a brief explanation of how people can use this format?
Thank you. My name is Ryan Hinch, and I'm an engagement specialist with the City of Boulder. I'm really grateful for all of you for being here this evening. We wanted to give a quick refresher of some of the rules that we have in place for online council meetings. Let me share these slides real quick here. And we're thankful, for the City Attorney's Office to work with us on these rules that really strike a balance between meaningful and transparent engagement and online security. And so, to be clear, any activities that disrupt, delay, or otherwise interfere with the meeting are prohibited. The time for speaking during our public hearing may be limited, and we'll have a timer for those wishing to speak. We have folks participating with their real names and have registered to participate ahead of time. Also, those speaking at the public hearing will be audio only, will not be video. And then we'll go ahead and have council ensure to enforce these rules. The Q&A function is enabled. And so if there are any process or technical questions, please don't hesitate to use the Q&A function. We'll go ahead and have only the folks who are sharing presentations share their screens. So again, please don't hesitate to reach out with the Q&A function with any technical or process questions. And I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have more than 15 speakers signed up tonight, so everyone will get 2 minutes to speak to this. The first three speakers are Ali Franzaglia, Jan Burton, and Matt Benjamin. Ali?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Ali Franzalia, 504 Marine Street. After the 2019 council election, I was inspired by many of you and other community members to consider issues of equity and representation more deeply, particularly as they pertain to our elections and governance. Is our local leadership as representative as it could be? Are there barriers to serving or even participating? Is every voice being heard and reflected? And how can we make more space for those who are underrepresented? I think we all agree that we can do better. And doing better doesn't just happen on its own. It requires looking at current systems critically and taking action accordingly. One thing we know for sure, if nothing ever changes, then nothing ever changes. I began having conversations about this in January, and those conversations led me to Matt Benjamin, who back in 2019 had already begun laying the groundwork for Boulder to directly elect its mayor via ranked choice voting. I believe this is an important step toward a more equitable and representative local government. So I emailed Matt in early February, introduced myself, and asked if I could help. Now here we are on August 11th, and a lot has happened since then. Petitioning all summer during a pandemic and speaking with so many citizens who support this measure has only strengthened my resolve that it's the right move for Boulder right now. I understand that some feel this is rushed. To be clear, this agenda item represents a community-wide effort that began 10 months ago and wouldn't go into effect for 3 more years. It seems like time is on our side to act now. And if the year 2020 has taught us anything, it's that we should never wait to make improvements to our processes and our systems. We should never wait to hear the voices of our community members, and we should never wait on issues of equity and representation. Please don't make Boulder wait any longer. Put this on the ballot so the voters can decide for themselves. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you, Ali. Next we have, oh, Mary has a question. You're on mute, Mary.
Sorry, I have a question for Ali.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Ali. How does this single vote or single person election accomplish a more equitable representation?
I mean, for me, I think that I see it as one step of a few that we could make that together would make a world of difference in that area. And I think, having every person's vote and, everyone who's voting make a decision on mayor versus a majority of 5 on council, it seems more representative. And then, I think it's a great way for us to get started on ranked choice voting that later could be applied to other things if it's working for us and we like it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Thank you, Ali. So Jan Burton, Matt Benjamin, and Celeste Landry. Jan?
There we go. Good evening, Mayor and Council. And thanks to those council members who have invested time and energy to help us refine the ballot measure. We'd also like to thank Luis Toro for working a tight timeline to revise the language. This is an example of democracy at work with negotiation and give and take with petitioners. We now feel we have a better ballot measure already popular with 6,000 signers. Today, only 5 people select our mayor, the highest elected position in Boulder. With our mayor, our choice, the people will select the mayor, and with ranked choice voting, a majority will be required. This could mean 15 to 20,000 votes to get elected. So 5 votes or 15,000, which is a better democracy. We have all lamented the fact that few young people or minorities are involved in Boulder's elections or government. By directly electing the mayor, we can get more people interested in the issues of the day, and with ranked choice voting, we will better hear their voices. Let me remind you that electronic petitioning passed in 2018 was not solving a problem. It was proactively making citizen-led democracy better in Boulder. yet most of you supported that measure. Some people have said we're rushing this, but actually a small team has been working on this for almost a year now. We will have 3 years to execute a new voting system, and by that time, more Boulder County communities may be using the same system. In summary, we have gathered close to 6,000 signatures from people who think it's a no-brainer to elect our mayor. We will introduce the instant runoff form of ranked choice voting, an alternate voting system already used around the country and recommended by good governance advocates like the League of Women Voters. Your voters want to vote on this measure. Please support strong democracy by placing it on the ballot tonight. Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Yes,
Mary.
Jan, thank you for that testimony. Did you mention the League of Women Voters? And we got a very informed email from the League this afternoon. And I'm wondering, did you reach out to the League in order to advise on this ballot measure?
I have. It was, in fact, they included me on the panel discussion they had several weeks ago. I have not yet been able to spend time with Celeste, but I have with Mark and Dory. I wish that I knew that they were involved in this kind of thing with different kinds of voting systems, because we clearly would have involved them more from the very beginning of our planning. So we are committed to working with them in the future and on this, and as well as if, Mary, if you're interested in doing a form of ranked choice voting for council in the future, they could be very, very helpful with that.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
So next we have Matt Benjamin, Celeste Landry, and Mark Parsons. Matt?
Hi, I'm Matt Benjamin, 2395 Vassar Drive. Thank you, members of council, for considering to refer the petition to elect our mayor using the instant runoff version of ranked choice voting to the ballot this November. The charter amendment petition that you are considering tonight has met an incredibly high bar of support during the most extraordinary times in unfortunate circumstances. We have taken the original petition that has been studied and researched for over a year and signed by nearly 6,000 people in Boulder and modified the language based on the feedback and recommendations from many of you on council. The end result is a solid piece of legislation. How many times has council's charter committee referred a measure to the ballot that was also endorsed by nearly 6,000 voters? Equally, when was the last time a voter-approved charter amendment petition has incorporated the recommendations of council? I can't think of any other charter amendment petition that's met this unprecedented level of input and scrutiny by both members of the community and council. Therefore, there is no good reason to deny the voters a chance to vote on this measure in November. I want to also clear up some confusion out there about whether or not ranked choice voting requires a majority of votes to win. The answer is yes. RCV requires 50%, a majority. The threshold to win is and will always be 50%. When the first, second, third, and so on rounds are counted, the winner with 50% of the votes wins. Ranked choice voting provides more voice and more choice to voters. In other cities, this has proven to increase the percentage of women and people of color running for and winning elections as compared to these cities prior to adopting RCV. This is why ranked choice voting is the fastest growing alternative voting system in the US. It's also worth noting that the term ranked choice voting is a general term for a few election systems. Most of the communities we researched, both in and outside of Colorado, explicitly use the term ranked choice voting and adopting the measure similar to the one before you. Stripping this term out of the ballot language would create an unnecessary confusion. Including both terms is the most accessible form of terminology that we would recommend. Thank you for your time and appreciate it.
Thank you. And Bob has his hand up.
Yeah, just a quick question for Matt. Matt, thanks for that testimony. Last week we were working with the folks who had the eviction ballot measure, and we specifically invited Rui Orengo, who's the leader of that group, to stick around and answer questions. If it was the will of council, would you be available, Matt, to answer questions in a few minutes?
I'd be more than happy to. Appreciate the opportunity. However, I can help clear it up.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Mark Wallach?
Yeah, I had a question for Matt. Matt, how many systems of ranked choice voting are you aware of, and what led you to select this one?
It's a good question. Well, so yeah, ranked choice voting is sort of a general term, but it's really any term of voting where you're ranking the candidates in order of preference. And really there's two main ones to consider, and that is instant runoff for single winner contests, which is what we're recommending for the direct election of mayor. And then there's the single transferable vote, which is the multi-winner version that would be only applicable to like a at-large council election, which we would consider and recommend as sort of another phase if we wanted to go that direction. So there's really two underneath that umbrella of ranked choice voting. And so terminology-wise, it makes sense to say ranked choice voting, instant runoff, and therefore you're connecting what people understand as ranked choice voting with the specific version that's out there.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Great, seeing none. Next speakers, Celeste Landry, Mark Parsons, and Mark McIntyre. Celeste?
Hi, this is Celeste. Can you hear me?
You. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I believe I'm pooling my time with two other people, so I should get 4 minutes.
Okay, who are those?
Mark Parsons, the next person on your list.
Okay.
And Marcus Ogren.
Okay, and are they both here in the meeting?
I'm not in the room with them, but I hope they're on the meeting.
Okay.
Mark and Marcus, would you please use the raise your hand feature to identify that you are in the room?
I see one. Yep, I see two. Okay, good enough. So you have 4 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. My name is Celeste Landry. I live at 745 University Avenue, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Boulder County. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization striving to make democracy work for all. In our ongoing effort to empower voters and defend democracy, we are very heartened by the community's interest in improving our electoral systems, most recently in this discussion of how Boulder chooses its mayor. With that in mind, the League was happy to sponsor the recent forum that Jan mentioned, Improving Boulder City Governance Through Better Electoral Systems. The Our Mayor proponents, working with the City Attorney's Office, recently modified their ballot proposal, resulting in significantly improved language. Our voting methods team is requesting one more modification. Please change the ballot language to replace every instance of ranked choice voting with instant runoff voting, or instant runoff parenthesis ranked close parenthesis voting. Because ranked choice voting, or RCV, is actually an umbrella term, as we've said in this meeting, referring to way more than two methods, and neither the Colorado Secretary of State nor Colorado statute uses the confusing RCV term. Additionally, we urge all those involved in campaigning for this measure to accurately describe the instant runoff process. The proponent's campaign material, for instance, claims, quote, RCV ensures that the mayor is elected by a majority of voters, unquote. This is false. For instance, in 2018, in San Francisco and in Maine's instant runoff elections, the majority of voters did not vote for the eventual winner. Instant runoff voting offers more voter expression, but still guaranteeing a majority of all the voters is an impossible criterion to meet when there are three or more candidates. Going forward, the Boulder County League's voting methods team hopes to serve as a resource in the crafting of any future electoral system initiatives and in educating the electorate on such ballot issues. If Boulder convenes another study group on elections as recommended by a subset of the Campaign Finance Working Group, which included Matt Benjamin, please include a member of our voting methods team. Our team would also like to present on the topic of proportional voting methods at a future City Council study session. In other cities which use the same at-large multi-winner council elections that Boulder uses, courts have ordered a different election structure in order to be more inclusive of underrepresented populations and perspectives. In conclusion, if the City of Boulder decides to have its mayor chosen by the electorate, then instant runoff voting is an improvement. The League of Women Voters supports voting methods that are better than the standard vote for one method. Contrary to what Jan Burton said, neither the League of Women Voters of Boulder County, nor the state, nor the National League specifically recommends instant runoff voting. We just recommend educating people and choosing the one that's best for your community. And much more information on ways to improve our city's elections, including a link to our recent online form, can be found on our webpage. lwvbc.org, and then click on Teams at Work, and then click on Voting Methods. Thank you for engaging with the community as we strive to make democracy work for all. And I want to make one more comment. There are ranked voting methods that are not RCV. For instance, Buckland voting, also known as the Grand Junction system, is not in the RCV umbrella because it does not have any transfer votes as RCV does. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Celeste. We get some questions for you. Bob and then Aaron.
Celeste, thank you so much for speaking tonight on behalf of yourself and the League of Women Voters. That was really, really informative and helpful. And thank you also for suggesting a clarification in the language that would indicate instant runoff, which sounds like it's the technical or legal term of art, but also perhaps with a parenthetical around ranked choice voting, which is probably a more commonly used phrase, and so the voters don't get confused. I had a quick question for you, Celeste. I was a little bit confused about something you said that maybe you could clarify around a majority. You used San Francisco and I think Maine as an example, recent example. Did you mean in those instances that the person who was in first place initially was not the person who was ultimately elected, or when you said that it was not the majority winner, how did that work out mathematically?
Here's an example with some easy numbers. In Maine's election, 2nd Congressional District, there were 4 candidates. So suppose there were 100 voters. One candidate got 40 votes, another candidate got 39 votes, and then the other 2 candidates each got 5. Those 2 candidates with only 5 were eliminated. And if the people put a second choice on their ballot, then it would go to that person. And maybe they did. Maybe they put the other losing candidate on there. They didn't like either of the main candidates, the 2 major candidates. They preferred the sort of third-party candidates. Then it could have been, the final vote tally would have been 45 and 44 votes. So one person gets 45% of the votes cast in the election. Yes, that person gets more than the other, but it's not a majority of the people who cast ballots in that election, because some people didn't want to put a third choice that they didn't like on their ballot.
Okay,
or a second choice they didn't like.
I get it. So it really would only come into, you would really only not have a majority winner if people didn't follow through and pick a second or third or fourth choice. If they just picked a first choice and stopped there, or first and second choice and stopped there. If they effectively relinquished their votes by not going all the way down the stack. Is that right?
Right. If they don't like a candidate, we should not force them to vote for it.
Got it. And then it would just revert to kind of the plurality system that we have right now.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks for that explanation, Celeste. That was very helpful.
Great. 2 more questions, Aaron and Mary. Aaron?
Well, Bob asked my question, but Celeste, I'll just also thank you for coming, and thanks to you and the League for participating in this discussion. And I hope we can take you up on your offer to discuss voting methods next year. I'd love to do that. So thank you for your offer.
And then Mary?
Yeah, I want to echo Aaron's comment about taking you up on your offer. You mentioned that the way you determine a ranked choice voting system is by figuring out what works best for your community. And I'm curious as to what that determination looks like.
If you go to the League's website and our voting methods page, we actually have examples, 5 case studies, I believe, of different sorts of examples. So for instance, one example is electing members of Congress. There is a bill, HR 4000, the Fair Representation Act, which uses single transferable vote. That's the good proportional ranked voting method that Matt Benjamin mentioned. And so that might be a good way to elect a member of Congress, because you're used to only voting for one And in ranked voting, you only get one vote. You get to rank as many candidates as you want, but your vote only goes to one candidate at a time. That's a difference from right now, our city council, you get to vote for 5 people at a time. With any kind of ranked voting with transfers, you only get one vote. So you have to think about, what do people have right now? What are they willing to change to? You know, maybe approval voting, where you can vote for lots of people, everybody you approve of, would be a good way to elect, say, a single winner person like a mayor, because it's very easy to implement and it solves the spoiler effect. It promotes positive campaigning. So basically think about all the issues you have and then think about what would be good in that situation. And I direct you to that paper on the website.
Thank you, Celeste.
And Junie?
Sam, should I ask my question now or should I wait until later? Because the question is for Tom, but on Celeste's comments.
Go ahead and ask it now.
Okay, Tom, I just have a question because I had a hard time figuring out the math that Celeste was helping Bob with. And by the way, thank you very much for making all your comments, Celeste. I'm just not very sure what's the difference between instant runoff and ranked choice, because I know earlier you mentioned, Tom, you mentioned that they're practically the same, but from what I'm hearing from Celeste, they're different. And I would like to know, is the difference just the process or is it substantial? Will it really impact it?
So just to be clear, you don't have a choice on the system you choose. The state legislature provided a specific system for you to use, and that's instant runoff voting. I think the dispute is in what you call it and the worry about some confusion that people will think it's something other than what the state has authorized. So does that answer your question, Junie?
It does in a way, because so you essentially saying that we're just having a discussion, but at the end, it will have to be instant voting as opposed to ranked choice.
I think that the petitioners and the League of Women Voters both want the same system. That's authorized by the state. The state called it runoff. I think there's a debate on whether or not that's a form of ranked choice voting and which term more accurately describes it. And so it's your choice in how you draft the ballot title and what you want to include. But what you're able to do, in my view, is limited by state law.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Well, thank you again, Celeste. These were great points. If you don't want to stay on for further questions, I'll ask one right now.
I'm happy to stay on if you, I'll plan to stay on whether or not you ask a question right now.
Okay, why don't you stay on then, because I may want to ask you and Matt similar questions later. So okay. Thank you. Next we have Mark McIntyre, Mark Gelband, and Lynn Siegel. Mark?
Hi, good evening. Mark McIntyre, North Boulder. We all like to talk about participation in our democracy, and for the most part, we support greater involvement by more people, or at least we say we do. I'm going to use my limited time to tell you about my experience and your constituents' response engaged in outside of Trader Joe's in the July sun, wearing a mask during a pandemic while they are watching their ice cream melt. You learn a lot about your neighbors in these conditions. I gathered hundreds of signatures there, and the response of people fell into two camps. First were those that were familiar with the fact that as few as 5 city council members elect our mayor, and somewhere in the 90% range, they would say, I never liked this method. I always thought we should change this. The other group didn't know about our current method, but couldn't see why we would want to use the current method. I was also surprised and pleased with the relatively high percentage of people that knew of and understood ranked choice voting or instantaneous runoff voting. As Tom just pointed out, is the correct technical term for the state. Those that knew of it supported it, and those that didn't know of it supported it after a brief explanation. The main thing I learned from the experience of gathering these hundreds of signatures is that Boulderites are smart, they're informed, and they're ready for a change. They are ready for a choice, and especially ready for their voice to be heard now, not at a later date, not after more study. They're ready for this now. And I'm happy to also address any other questions about instantaneous runoff and our experience with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next, we have Mark Gelband, Lynn Siegel, and Chelsea Castellano.
So this is unequivocally can you hear me? This is unequivocally a step in the right direction. It is long past time to change our at-large off-year election cycle, since we don't really have the appetite to go to on-year elections and get to a ward system quickly enough. This is one small way to expand the participation in our elections. One of the things that concerns me as we discuss this tonight, though, is that the organizers of Our Mayor, Our Choice are making a big deal about getting 6,000 or nearly 6,000 Boulderites to do this in a pandemic. And as we know, there's another ballot initiative or charter initiative that was tried to put on the ballot by the people with over 7,500 people saying that they wanted to see it on the ballot. One of the things in that discussion was that each of you said that it was important to consider the content of those measures before you put those on, insinuating that it didn't matter what the electorate believed, but that what the 9 representatives voted on council believed. So I, for one, as a longtime constituent of Boulder, a taxpayer, somebody who votes, I'd like to know what each of you think about the content of this as you make your vote, since you were so up front in sharing that when you denied our bedrooms, the bedrooms are for people initiative. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. Next, Lynn Siegel, Chelsea Castellano, and Lucy Carlson Krakoff. Lynn?
Hi, I'm trying not.
Lynn, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I don't think anything should be put on the ballot. I think it's, obviously it's a politicization of the situation if you do put anything on the ballot. I bring forth to you the South Boulder floodplain, which should definitely be put on the ballot because of the many weeks that were lost on that. But I say at this point, you should put nothing on the ballot, or you should put everything on the ballot. And my best recommendation is put nothing on the ballot. I personally don't believe in a mayor at all. I don't think we should have a mayor. I don't think we need one. I think now with Zoom, you can have Zoom operate as the mayor, because the person who's spoken most often or has spoken in the wrong order can be equated from the Zoom technology. You can know how many times that person spoke, how many minutes they've spoken, and I'm sure that Zoom is going to get a whole lot of improvements as the virus continues. I don't believe in a vertical integration like corporate vertical integration. I don't think there should be vertical integration in our city council. And if so, then I would recommend that people rotate between having the position of mayor. It's interesting because it seems like now there's more interest in getting things put on the ballot or not than there is in the actual substance of the ballot measure itself. It's kind of an interesting situation. And I like instant runout voting.
Thank you, Lynn. Next, Chelsea Castellano, then Lucy Carlson Krakoff, and Eric Budd. Chelsea.
Hi, I'm an organizer with Bedrooms Are for People, but I'm here tonight to share my support for Our Mayor, Our Choice. Our campaign teams work collaboratively to collect the thousands of physical signatures needed to earn a spot on the ballot. Our volunteers carried and collected signatures for the Our Mayor, Our Choice petition, and they did the same for ours. This type of collaboration amongst different campaigns is unprecedented. While this was born out of the difficulty to collect signatures during a time when people were being told to stay at home and stay 6 feet away, the partnerships between the different groups ultimately made each campaign stronger. So I guess I should thank you for refusing to give your constituents a safer option to participate in direct democracy. Over the course of months collecting hundreds of signatures for Our Mayor, Our Choice, I have learned a lot about how our community views this issue. 1, most people don't know how our mayor currently earns their seat as our representative. 2, most Boulderites have no clue who our current mayor even is. And 3, when it was explained that city council decides amongst themselves who should be mayor, Boulderites were appalled, looked at me with shock, and then quickly grabbed a freshly sanitized pen to sign the Our Mayor, Our Choice petition. It is clear that the Boulder community wants to elect its mayor, and the Our Mayor, Our Choice team has worked hard and risked their health to make that happen. While I am glad that you are considering upholding direct democracy for at least one charter initiative campaign, I urge you to refer the measure as the authors had written it. Ultimately, the Our Mayor, Our Choice initiative is a good governance issue, and by tampering with it, you are demonstrating just how badly we need the type of accountability from our elected representatives that this measure aims to provide. Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. Next, Lucy Carlson Krakoff, Eric Budd, and Lila Hickey. Lucy.
Hello, my name is Lucy, and I'm an organizer for Bedrooms Are for People. I live in downtown Boulder. Minutes ago, Mary asked how electing the mayor through public ranked choice voting would make Boulder more equitable. Here is an answer. Ranked choice voting is proven to increase the percentage of women and people of color running and then subsequently winning elections. So I had the opportunity to collect signatures for Our Mayor, Our Choice while organizing for Bedrooms Are for People. Both initiatives received more than 6,000 signatures from Boulder voters and taxpayers. It would make sense for the city council to refer both measures to the ballot. It will not, you will be silencing the voices of more than 6,000 voters. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Then Eric Budd, Lila Hickey, and Ryan Selden. Eric.
Hello, my name is Eric Budd. I'm an organizer on the Bedrooms Are for People campaign. I personally collected hundreds of signatures for the Our Mayor, Our Choice measure, and I support the change. It's critical that we have our elected officials, and particularly our mayor, that share our values in the community, that we have more say in who's running our government, that we can directly hold our elected officials accountable. Directly electing our mayor would improve our current council system. I want to share a quote from one of my heroes, civil rights leader John Lewis, one of many people who fought for their right to vote. The right to vote is precious and almost sacred, and one of the most important blessings of our democracy. We must be vigilant in protecting that blessing. If the right to vote were not so important, then those opposed to letting people vote would not work so hard to prevent it. I support direct election of the mayor and electing people to Boulder City Council who will uphold our right to vote. On Thursday, we will see you in court. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next, Lila Hickey, Ryan Selden, and Sarah Dawn Haynes. Lila.
Hello. Council and staff, as always, thank you for listening to the voices of your constituents. I am an organizer with Bedrooms Are for People, here to voice support for putting Our Mayor, Our Choices initiative on the ballot. I could tell you about my support for this initiative, but frankly, I don't think my support is what matters. What matters is the opinion of almost 6,000 Boulder voters who signed their support for this initiative. Having actually collected signatures during a pandemic, I can speak to quite how challenging a task this is, and I can think of few metrics more indicative of voter support than the collection of these signatures. Finally, if you do want to consider the contents of an initiative rather than its ability to meet council's requirements, both direct election and ranked choice voting are tangible, tactical changes we can make to increase voter enfranchisement and engagement at the local level. We should all be in favor of these things. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lila. Next up, Ryan Selden, Sarah Dawn Haynes, and Linda Templin. Ryan?
And this is Ryan Hanchin. It doesn't look like Ryan Selden is joining us this evening.
Okay.
If you are able to raise your hand if you're participating by phone, that's *9. Let us know that you are here.
Thank you, Ryan. And we have Sarah Dawn Haynes, Linda Templin, and Emma Donahue. Sarah Dawn?
Hello, good evening, Council. I am Sarah Dawn Haynes in South Boulder, and I also have been collecting signatures with Bedrooms Are for People and for Our Mayor, Our Choice, and talked to many hundreds of our city voters. And they, echoing what Chelsea had said around the reactions, people who have heard about ranked choice voting were stoked and excited to have this become a part of Boulder's democracy. The writer Courtney Lamandola recently wrote, over the last few years, more women have been running for office and winning than ever before. But women hold less than a quarter of all elected positions in the country, and large representation gaps remain across ideology, identity, age, and geography. The problem is systemic, much like our housing is related to systemic exclusion. And as important as it is to recruit and prepare more women to run, these efforts will yield disproportionate outcomes if we continue to rely on antiquated systems to determine the outcome of the election. And so I support having them on the ballot with the many thousands of people who echo that support. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah Dawn. Next, Linda Templin, Emma Donahue, and Nick Grossman. Linda?
Hi, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much for your time this evening. And thank you for your excellent explanation of the voting method. I'm the Executive Director of RCV for Colorado. RCV is an upgrade to modern democracy because it eliminates vote splitting. It is endorsed by leading political scientists as the best method to use to free voters to securely express their preferences. It has been used in the US for over 100 years, with marked increase over the past 20 years. Sometimes called instant runoff voting, RCV finds the community consensus without costly, time-consuming separate runoff elections. IRV is the language used in the state law, and RCV is the language used in federal matching funds legislation put forth by Senator Bennett. So that is why I would suggest keeping the RCV language in. Now, ranked choice was created back in the 1830s to be more fair than the plurality races that we still use now. The unintended consequences have been positive. Successful candidates have to plan on needing second and even third choice votes to build a win. To get those votes, they have to campaign on the issues. This puts the voters in a more powerful position because they have a better understanding of their choices and of the issues. In Basalt, where they just implemented RCV for the first time in April, 88% of the voters said they were satisfied or very satisfied. 95% said that the ballots were easy to use. The software updates installed in Boulder County include an RCV module. Now is a great time for Boulder to embrace this common sense reform.
Thank you, Linda. Next up, Emma Donahue, Nick Grossman, and Neil McBurnett. Emma?
Thank you so much for having me here this evening, and thank you for the City Council for discussing this very important issue. My name is Emma Donahue, and I am the Boulder area organizer for Ranked Choice Voting for Colorado. I also serve on the Ranked Choice Voting Policy Committee. Ranked choice voting has been used in small Colorado municipalities for around 10 years. There have been lessons learned and updated materials created by the Office of the Secretary of State. Ballots have been designed for use on the equipment that Boulder now has with the software we have now. The Office of the Secretary of State, the County Clerks Association, and Denver Elections have been working on a long runway to success with an eye to implementation in Denver in 2023. Boulder elections will be well supported by professionals around the state and by national level experts in local implementation. Senator Bennett has sponsored the U.S. Voice Choice Act of 2020 to provide matching funds to jurisdictions implementing RCV. RCV has been well vetted by political scientists around the country. We see that turnout tends to increase and that fewer ballots are spoiled. We see that diversity of candidates increases and acrimony in campaign decreases. This modern voting method is gaining popularity because it centers on the need of the voter. So I would hope that Boulder City Council will refer this measure to the ballot and allow the people of Boulder to decide if this is what they want to use and honor the 6,000 people who signed the petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Junie, I see your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question for either Emma but she's working with RCV for Colorado, so I believe she can answer the question. And I think I wanted to know how many cities, if she knows how many cities in Colorado or counties that are using ranked choice voting.
So currently, under current law, municipalities and special districts can use it. Counties aren't authorized at this point. So the places we've seen it so far are Basalt, Telluride, and Aspen have used it.
Okay.
Thank you, Sam.
Yep, you bet. Okay, last two are Nick Grossman and Neil McBurnett. Nick?
Hello, Council. Thank you for demonstrating your respect for Boulder voters by placing our mayor, our choice on the 2020 ballot. With voters' trust in Boulder's elected officials and democratic process at an all-time low, it's important that you uphold the wishes of nearly 6,000 people to vote on this measure in November. The thousands of Boulder voters who risked their health to sign this petition were not asking City Council to tinker with the ballot language. They were demanding a more representative form of local government. By establishing a system of ranked choice voting here in Boulder, voters will be able to reward council candidates with more moderate, centrist views that better represent a broader portion of the electorate. After speaking with hundreds of Boulder voters about this issue this summer, I've learned that most people do not know the name of our mayor and don't realize that they have no direct say in who is chosen to represent our city to the world. Many Boulder voters are clearly disconnected from the mayoral selection process and are therefore less invested in that decision than they should be. Although Boulder has a strong city manager, weak mayor form of government, our mayor does set the economic, social, and political agenda for our community. What the mayor decides to leave off of that agenda is equally important, especially when that includes urgent issues such as affordable private housing, police reform, or ending Boulder's discriminatory home occupancy limits. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Do we have a question? No. Last speaker is Neil McBurnett.
One moment. It looks like Neil has an older version of Zoom. So one moment, we'll need to adjust this.
Okay.
Neil, are you there? Can you hear us?
Unmute. Testing, testing. Testing, testing.
We can hear you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I'm Neil McBurnett, a longtime student of election methods since the 1980s, a past board member of the Center for Election Science, and a risk limiting audit expert. I sent you an email with some more details. In summary, please do not put our mayor proposal on the ballot this year. It heads in the wrong direction with a flawed method. But we do need reform of electoral methods in Boulder. Instead, please properly charter a task force to study the very complex issues involved. I hope and expect that the result will include proportional representation as used in Boulder from 1917 to 1947 and still used in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's the best way to fix the flaws of our current method for electing council, which has been struck down many times in court for not giving voices to minority groups. There are new voting methods that work even better. The League of Women Voters voting methods team would be eager to help with all of that. I'd also like to follow up on the question of getting a majority winner. As Celeste noted, it's impossible to guarantee a majority winner with 3 or more candidates, but it's worse. Sometimes in instant runoff voting, the wrong candidates get to the final runoff. Burlington, Vermont, a city similar in many ways to Boulder, adopted instant runoff voting, but rejected it right after a huge mess in their 2009 election. Not only did the winner not get a majority, but looking at all the rankings on all the ballots, voters preferred the candidate in 3rd place to the declared winner. 3rd place according to IRV. Again, a flawed method which sometimes causes you to hurt a candidate by ranking them higher. Finally, I'd like to say that direct election of the mayor is not a good idea. It would introduce gridlock and tensions in council that I think council can best handle by itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. Okay, that's the end of the public speaker list. I think it's back to council. Did we have any other questions? I want to ask Celeste a question. Any other? Just raise your hand if you have additional questions. Celeste, my question to you, can you hear me? I expect you can. My question to you is you wrote an email to us that talked about how ranked choice voting is a much more impactful system for voter empowerment when used in a multi-candidate, multi-seat race. And this seems to be going with the single candidate, but with a version of ranked choice voting. So in your opinion, would you prefer to see more time put in, get it right and apply it across the whole council, or would you like to see it done stepwise with this first and another one later? And Celeste, I can see you, but you're on mute, so we're trying to unmute you.
Okay, it says I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the question, so I'm going to speak as a league member. The question right now is, should we directly elect our mayor? And we have not stated a position on that. So in terms of if we elect our council members a new way, yes, we would like to use a method that would improve representation for groups that are currently underrepresented. Did I answer your whole question? There was a time when we were dealing with the muting and I...
Got it. Yeah, the only other part would be, it seemed like the ranked choice with a single candidate, single victor setup didn't improve things very much, especially when compared to a multi-seat, multi-candidate. So you said the question at hand is, should we directly elect our mayor? That's one question at hand. And the other question is how. And
okay, I think I got it. So yes, we as the Boulder County League's voting methods team, We are strong proponents of proportional representation, so multi-winner voting methods. And so yes, we would prefer to see that over having districts, for instance. If you have districts, you can have all single winner elections and then there's no proportional representation. So we would strongly prefer proportional representation multi-winner method over districts. A mayor is a single winner office, so, and instant runoff voting is much better than plurality for two reasons. One, voters get to express their opinions more. You may not see the second and third choice, but they're there if the first choice gets eliminated. And secondly, you won't have the spoiler effect.
Okay, thank you. We have one more question, Junie.
Thank you, Sam. My question is actually for Matt Benjamin.
Okay, great. Thank you, Celeste. Go ahead with your question, Junie.
Thank you. I have two questions actually for Matt. And my first question, because he raised a concern and I wanted to know what is exactly the concern when it comes to the name, when it comes to either RCV or the instant runoff. Is it because, well, it impacts the success of the initiative in November? So I'm just wondering why is he opposed to it, or is he even opposed to it?
Matt?
Oh, I was gonna, I can answer the first one and then Junie certainly answer your second. Thanks for the question. So with regarding to, the concern about the naming, I think it really comes down to two pieces, and I think it was kind of somewhat already addressed. The instant runoff voting is the actual technical term supported by state law. The problem is that's not the public vernacular and the terminology used for this voting system. So ranked choice voting is, on the other hand. And so that's kind of the conundrum here is, do you provide a technical term, which a vast majority of the electorate doesn't know, in which case then there's confusion, or do you provide a term that they do know, which be a little overly broad and generic? So I think that's an interesting balance to sow massive confusion to people who actually want to support this, but are now hearing a term they've never heard before in describing it. And I think that would do a disservice to the overall objective of this proposal.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you is that you're open to keeping both terms as the initiative move forward.
We're not just open to it. We've written that into the ballot language and the charter language as is. So we're committed to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Junie. Mary?
Thank you. I have a question for Matt and one for Celeste. Matt, in Celeste's response to my question as to how a community decides what the best method is for their community, she mentioned that you start with identifying the problems and going from there. Could you speak to your process of identifying the problems and going from there?
Hey, Mary, thank you so much for that question. And that's a good one, because I think it also speaks to the amount of time that our team has spent researching this and going through the process. We've done a number of community events that really focused on testing out some voting methods, but also hearing what people think. And what's really vital here is there's not just the tactical and mathematical nature of some of these voting methods, which are somewhat similar and complementary, but really the key things here that are issues is the spoiler effect. But let's remember, this is phase one of trying to get to the ultimate phase of having proportional representation on council. And what we found in our research and looking in the Boulder community is it was a bridge too far to just go straight to that. And so we saw by using the instant runoff by electing the mayor as a way to narrow that gap and help people understand a new voting system before we make that eventual evolution. And so to that is the spoiler effect. We have the spoiler effect in our at-large races, and you almost certainly have a spoiler effect in a mayoral election. So maintaining consistency there in a voting system is vital. The other part is eliminating not just the spoiler effect, but the slates. I think we've all been a part of the slates. We understand them, and we see that they're maybe creating a bifurcation in our community that I think is undermining some of the moderation that I think we'd like to see in some of the issues. And some of us are feeling that that's the case. And ranked choice voting and others look to do that. And the reason why we chose ranked choice voting over others, and I'll give credit to Celeste here. She's done a lot of great education on a lot of these voting methods, and some of them are actually quite good. And they're all pretty much on even keel with ranked choice voting or instant runoff or single transferable vote. But the big difference here is that ranked choice voting in instant runoff form is the one that is more massively used across the country. It's the one where we have data, we have experience, we can look to other communities to how they've used it. Almost all of these other voting methods either have virtually no usage in the US or have like one. And so in terms of that, it comes down to, well, what do you want to use, a proven method or an unproven method? It's not to say those others won't work, but it's a matter of where do you want to put the risk? Where do you want to put your weight and capital? And we chose to put one that's proven, that people understand. And you also have to go to voters and say, what do you know? Do they know of this method they've never heard of? That's hard to sell. It's hard to get people to vote for that. Or one that they've heard of, they've seen articles, they see state and city after city moving to. That from a place of getting voter support seems like a better choice. So it was the marketability, the usability, but also the merits of the voting system that led us to choose ranked choice voting instant runoff as the preferred method.
Sam, can I colloquy with just a process question before we move on?
Sure.
So I have not experienced that we've had somebody who wasn't like staff or sort of a party to something that we were doing, answering questions, the way that I appreciate that the League of Women Voter Celeste is here, but on most issues, I would say we have sort of volunteer experts from the community who would be willing to answer questions. So it's confusing to me why somebody's in this conversation when we didn't talk about it.
Well, council members usually have the prerogative to ask questions of people who testify. And so I think we're just following that. We let other people testify first. Would you like us not to ask the questions of the?
Well, no, it's just like we usually say, like, would you stick around and answer questions sort of at parties and then ask people questions kind of as they go. So it's just confusing and a little bit concerning in terms of precedent for me, in terms of somebody hanging out and answering ongoing questions. So I just wanted to touch base on whether that's, I haven't seen it before.
Oh, well, in my experience, it happens from time to time. It's not usually been something we've tried to stop. Bob did ask Matt if Matt would be the spokesperson for Our Mayor, Our Choice. And I think we're just using Celeste's deep knowledge here to try and figure things out. So, and Mary, did you have another question you wanted to ask?
Well, yeah, I have a follow-up question for Matt. And so Matt, you mentioned that during the process of determining what your initiative language would be, you did outreach and you held meetings, and then when the language came out, I know that immediately you received feedback that said that the initiative as written would create conflicts within the charter amendment because of some years there would be 8 members in council and the charter requires 9, et cetera, et cetera. So you got feedback right after the language came out. And why did you not change the language then and wait until now?
Thanks, Mary. That's also a good question. And actually, it helps us clarify, I think, something that was in Tom's presentation. I think he mentioned that our original petition had presidential years as the election cycle. And I believe it actually was even year non-presidential. So just as a clarifying point, that was what was in our original petition language. So we looked at this and we looked at pros and cons. At the end of the day, our judgment call was for a focus and a lean towards increased voter engagement, increased voter turnout, greater equity, and greater diversity in our representation. That comes from engaging 20,000 more people than otherwise currently participate in our election systems. That is why we focused on even year non-presidential. In some of our local ballot initiatives that have been held those years, you get as many as 54,000 people participating. That is in comparison to the high watermark of 2019's council election of 34,000 people. And yes, there might be an occasional vacancy created by a council member running for mayor, getting elected, and leaving a one-year vacancy where council is down a person. We looked at that and we said, you know what? That's actually we can live with that if in exchange we're engaging 20,000 more people who otherwise don't participate, whose voice we want to have in telling us what they care about in our community. So we weighed that and we led that was more important than having an occasional hiccup as to a vacancy on council. So we heard that feedback, but at the end of the day, that was a value decision we made, that we cared about the input of more people in our community than perhaps the status quo. So why have we then changed now? Really, because we had to prioritize in looking at our petition of what were the most important facets of it. It was directly electing the mayor, using ranked choice voting instant runoff as number 2, and the even year non-presidential as number 3. That was the third priority. And so we quickly realized that if our route to get on the ballot through direct democracy was no longer viable, that in being pragmatic and looking to, look at collaboration rather than litigation to work with council to allow the voters to decide this, we looked at ditching that third piece, which was the even year non-presidential, because we felt at the core, most of the people signing this petition were in support of electing the mayor and using ranked choice voting. And so we wanted to honor and stay true to the will of those voters and also look for an opportunity for council and other people to provide input. And that seemed to be the biggest sticking point, was the even year non-presidential. So that's where in our collaborative process, we felt it was right to move on from that and maintain these two key functions of electing our mayor using ranked choice voting instant runoff.
Thank you, Matt. And then I had another question for Celeste. And so Jan, in her testimony, mentioned that they had consulted with the league during the process. And I was curious to know that in their consultation with the league as to how they should conduct this initiative, what was your advice to them?
We reached out to them after the petition was already getting signatures collected to invite them to be on a forum, which you can see on our website. And that was the first time that we had official discussions with them. And most of those discussions were just logistical. When can you make a forum? This is how long you'll talk. But since then, we have been talking with them more. Partly, I reached out to Bob Yates asking if the league could be involved in the revisions that the city attorney's office was going to work on. And Bob replied that we should reach out to our mayor folks. So we did. We were not involved in any of the revisions with the city attorney's office, but we are looking forward to being involved going forward.
Thank you. And Tom Carr, if it's okay, if I could turn to you for a brief point of order. Rachel asked a good question. From time to time, we've done this kind of thing. Do we have rules that say we can or can't do that?
No, there's nothing in the rules that you say you can or can't.
Okay.
So if you could amend the rules to allow it, but yeah, I don't know that you need to do that. I didn't hear Rachel objecting. I thought it was a point of inquiry more than an objection.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we ran that to ground while it was still warm. Bob, you're up next.
Thanks. Yeah, just following up on that final point. I mean, I see this dialogue with Matt very, very similar to the dialogue we had just last week with Rui Orengo, which Aaron graciously arranged, and he was the leader of that petition, which we're working on collaboratively. So I thought that was a great dialogue between council members and Rui, it was invaluable to have Rui there answering our questions and working with him. And Matt, I really appreciate you being available tonight to do the same thing. And I also want to thank you, Matt, for collaboration and not litigation. Collaboration is always better than litigation. I just had a quick question for you, Matt. You mentioned in response to Mary's first question that this could be the first step in a two-step process of ultimately having ranked choice voting for all of council. I think that this ranked choice voting, this phase one, I guess I'll call it a ranked choice voting for one council member, in this case, the mayor, would go into effect in 2023. Question, do you anticipate that then expanding ranked choice voting to all of council would happen before that first 2023 election, or is it your group's preference to have a couple trial runs and piloting and educating the community with the direct election mayor first and then bring it in after 2023? I know some cities have done it one way and some cities have done it the other. Do you have a preference?
Thanks for that question, Bob. You know, I have to say, this kind of goes back to Mark McIntyre's points that he made in his public comment. We learned a lot. You know, you can hold some small scale public, stuff and get inputs from small groups. But when you interact with, 10,000 people over the course of 90 days, you learn a lot more than you can from small focus groups. And one thing we learned is that there's more people in this town that are not only familiar with, but actually favor ranked choice voting than our smaller focus groups led on to believe. And so original thinking was, we need to let the community get one or two of these elections with ranked choice voting instant runoff under their belt before they feel comfortable migrating to the multi-winner version. I'm not sure that's the case anymore based on what we found out in the community. And so I would say, you know what, if there's an appetite and if council wants to move forward and there's some more community discussion that builds on what we've started with our petition, I think it could happen earlier. There's no reason why it couldn't. In for a matter of speaking, but certainly our plan was, maybe 2025, 2027. I think it can happen a lot faster, 2023.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay. If we have no more questions for our public participants, thank you very much for your testimony, and we'll bring this back to council for action. Bob?
Yeah, I'll just kick us off. I'm going to support this, and the version I'm going to support is the alternative version that Tom and Luis sent out today. I'll tell you why. First of all, just on the proposition itself, I'm quite excited about ranked choice voting. I'm excited to hear that what Matt and others had said about the community actually having a better understanding. I actually didn't understand ranked choice voting until a few weeks ago myself, and so I'm really happy and proud that so many people in the community already get it. I see, just looking online, that there's already 18 cities in the United States that have ranked choice voting, including, as mentioned in the testimony, 3 here in Colorado. And in fact, the Colorado Secretary of State has already developed rules for that, which we can then incorporate. There's one state, Maine, that uses ranked choice voting, including 5 additional states that use ranked choice voting for residential primaries. And 5 more cities, in addition to those 18, are in the process of implementing ranked choice voting, including New York City. So this is something that clearly works. It's worked for many cities for many years, and so we're not really out on a limb here. I like the fact that this is an opportunity to pilot ranked choice voting. I think in our perfect world, we love to have ranked choice voting for all council members, but as is mentioned in the testimony, that can be a little bit complicated. And so I do like the approach that this group has taken and said, let's pick one council member. Obviously, it's, the mayor is probably the only one logical one. This is not about direct elect mayor. As I see it, I think this is about ranked choice voting or instant runoff. And I was heartened by what Matt just said about the fact that perhaps if we put this on the ballot and the voters approve it, we might move to ranked choice voting for all of council right away. We may not have to wait until after the first mayor elected in 2023 to do this. But let's see if the voters understand ranked choice voting, if they support it. If they do on this fall's ballot, then let's have a discussion next year about expanding it potentially as early as the whole 2023 slate. So I am supportive of this. I think this is a good idea. I think this is a good opportunity to ask the voters what they think about it. I don't see a whole lot of downside, quite frankly. I am going to support the alternative that Tom and Luis sent out this afternoon with a 2-year mayor term, and let me tell you why. I have 5 reasons for this. Number 1, I think it's important to because the mayor holds a symbolic role, and while the mayor is one of 9 council members and has the same authority and weight as all council members, I think members in the community look at the mayor as a symbolic leader of the community. and often is called upon by people outside of our community to represent our town. And I think it's very, very important, therefore, to hold that person accountable to the community and council. And one way to do that is through regular elections every 2 years. Number two, sometimes voters make mistakes. I'm not going to mention any current elected officials at the federal level, but perhaps mistakes are made. And I think an opportunity to correct mistakes, if those happen every 2 years, is not a bad idea. We do that with Congress right now, and it seems to work for the House of Representatives. Third, I think because many in our community and outside of our community look at the mayor in a different way than they look at council members, whether that's right or wrong, that just happens. I think it's important for us to offset the potential for that position to be elevated. We don't want the position to be elevated. We want it to be just as it is right now, and the great job that Sam is doing as mayor to continue. And I think one way to ensure that that position doesn't somehow get elevated above the other council positions is to have that position be elected every 2 years, and then all of council members would be 4 years. So again, it'd be a little like the House of Representatives and the Senate right now, which has worked for over 200 years. Fourth, it works elegantly.
I was going to say, you say it works.
Yeah, well, there are problems, but that has nothing to do with that. Thanks, Sam. It works mechanically very elegantly because under the original proposition, you'd have kind of a mayor cycle and a non-mayor cycle, and sometimes you'd be electing 4 people and sometimes you'd be electing 5 people. If you made the mayor term 2 years and all the council terms 4 years, it's entirely symmetrical. You would have every 2 years, you'd have 4 people elected to council for 4-year terms and a 2-year mayor. 2 years later, you have 4 people elected for council and a 2-year mayor. It's entirely symmetrical. It's very elegant, and I think it worked. And then finally, it's what we have right now. We have a 2-year mayor system. We've had some great mayors, including our current mayor, and it seems to work to do a check-in, whether we're checking with the voters or checking with council every 2 years to say to that person, how have you been doing? Would you like to serve another 2 years? Some of our mayors have served 2 years. Some of our mayors have served 4 years. That seems to work out really, really well. And I think that's one part of our system, which is a check-in at 2 years with the mayor that I would not want to change. And so for all those reasons, I'm going to support putting this measure on the ballot in the version that has a 2-year mayor term. Thanks.
Adam?
Thanks, Sam. First, I'll say I think it's important to support this simply because they did reach the amount of signatures after they're verified. We're not sure whether or not they'll have reached it, but they got so many more signatures on top of what they needed to get verified that the likelihood is very high that given our original rules that we gave to them, this would have been on the ballot. So number one, I think that's a very important thing not to forget. Number two, for many of the reasons Bob suggested, I would also support this just as something that would go to the ballot. I think it really provides the opportunity to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Direct electing the mayor is, I think, important for that figurehead role. I really don't want to see the mayor become, a strong mayor or anything like that. I don't think that's necessarily the best move for the community, but this provides sort of a little bit of community input to a process that right now is dominated simply by council. We haven't ever had a problem electing the mayor. We've gotten a bunch of good ones, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't be improved. And I do think even though it's just a figurehead, and someone who runs the meeting, it is still looked at differently by the town in general. So that part of it's very important to me, but more than that is the ranked choice voting part of this. I totally agree. I think we need to get to ranked choice eventually for the entire council, especially to remove the partisanship that seems to be continually growing. I thought that this is a small step in that direction, and I hope that we will have future ballot initiatives that allow us to hopefully get ranked choice across the board. That's why I would support putting this on the ballot this year.
Thank you. We got Junie, Rachel, and Mark. Junie?
Thank you, Sam, and I want to also thank Bob for the way he expressed the 2 years alternative, and I do support it as well because I don't want to stand in the way of progress. I would have preferred the 4 years because, again, I think a lot of the things that Bob brought forward were good ideas. For instance, the accountability part, which is necessary. But I've always felt 2 years, for instance, you mentioned Congress, you mentioned the House of Representatives, which is every 2 years, and Senate every 4 years. But the thing is, with the 2 years term, the mayor will be someone who's constantly thinking of re-election if the person wants to be re-elected. And I think that will be disruptive because the person after 1 year being elected, being on council or being the mayor, they will run again or start thinking about the process of running instead of helping the city manager manage the city. But at the end of the day, I don't want to, again, stand in the way of progress, and I will support it because I think the people wanted, over 6,000 people wanted this initiative, and I think that's the right thing to do, and I think, that's the right idea. And I like the idea of what you brought forward about the symmetry and the parallelism. I think that's very important with the process, that it is smooth. So I think that's great. And, I'm excited and I look forward to putting this initiative on the ballot. And by the way, my computer is about to die. If I drop off, you all know why.
Thank you, Junie. Rachel, Mark, Aaron. Rachel?
I hope your computer makes it, Junie. I'll be rooting for you there. So I like the idea of 2 years, but I would like to hear Matt Benjamin's reaction to that. I don't know if we've heard from them on how they might feel about that.
Matt, if you're on, speak up.
Can you guys hear?
You're on mute, Matt.
Can you hear me now? There we go.
Yep.
Sorry, I had muted. I thought we were done with that. Thanks for that question. So we prefer 4 year, but we certainly aren't going to for the metaphor fall on the sword for it. At the end of the day, it's prioritizing what can get us done, and it's how do we pragmatically collaborate with council based on what 6,000 people told us they want in this. And so we prefer 4 for the reasons that have been stated. It takes some of the electioneering out of it. Also, we reward our highest vote getters for council to 4 years, and who's likely winning mayor is going to receive many more votes than that, and yet almost we penalize them with 2. But at the end of the day, Bob also makes good points about checking in, and to some extent, 4 years is a long time to be mayor. So we see both sides. We prefer 4 for the reasons we stated, but at the end of the day, we would be okay with either one going forward.
Thanks, Matt. So I think the reason that I like the idea of 2 is number one, and I would suspect Sam can speak to this a lot more than I could, but the mayor position is so administrative and focused on running meetings. And I think that if we elected somebody who was, turned out didn't have a talent at that, 4 years would be a long time. And I worry that somebody who couldn't run an efficient meeting, say, would cost staff, to have to be in council meetings maybe till 2 a.m. regularly in the community to function with kind of clunky meetings. So due to the really administrative duties of this position, I think that 2 years makes a lot of sense. I also think that it presents more opportunities for people to possibly run for mayor. We're doing it every 2 years, and I don't know that the mayor would want to run again. So again, I would think Sam could maybe speak to that more than me.
And then COVID.
not after 2020.
Right.
And then just the last suggestion I would have is if it looks like we're going to have 5 council members who are going to support this going onto the ballot, it might be helpful if the 4 who weren't going to vote for it to be on the ballot would at least weigh in on the 2 versus 4 years to help us figure that piece out. Thanks.
Thank you. Mark and Aaron. Mark?
Yeah, I'm going to have a different perspective on this. But first, I wanted to express my appreciation to the sponsors for agreeing to work with members of the council to try to rectify whatever defects there were in the original proposition. I want to specifically thank Ali and Matt for spending time with me and explaining their views, which they did very, very skillfully.